is here to give a brief profile of Ms. Neena Chatrat. Neena Chatrat is a senior partner, leadership consulting in TransSearch based in the firm's New Delhi office. With over 18 years of business experience, ma'am focuses on the impacts of leadership on business performance, talent management, and organization building. She is a commerce graduate from Delhi University with a business management and a hotel management qualifications. Prior to joining TransSearch, she was with Korn Ferry, where she consulted with a range of blue-chip clients, including Avantha Group, Bharti Airtel, Coca-Cola India, MetLife International, Metso Minerals, Millicom, Modi Group of Companies, Sony, Nokia, and several others. Her early years of prior to consulting were largely in business development roles across hospitality, retail, and technology sectors. She moved to the people side of business in 2001 and used models like people capability maturity model and then transitioned to the behavioral side of leadership and personal effectiveness with the Dale Carnegie. She has led behavioral-based development initiative for leaders and assessment projects evaluating executives' behavior, helping to impact performance and drive organizational experience. A certified Dale Carnegie trainer and a coach to high-potential leaders, she serves as subcommittee member for human resources at CII and advises MNC and Indian companies on the CII business excellence model. A frequent speaker at many high-profile HR events in India, ma'am is a contributing author to columns in leading business and career publications. Ma'am, it is our pleasure to see you here as a part of the National HR Meet, BIMM. The podium is all yours. Ma'am, thank you.
So good evening to all of you. So can I request you guys to do something for me? Seriously, will you abide? Chalo, let's test it out now. So I think a lot of you are sitting in your comfort zones. Let me define comfort zone. I think some of you are kind of slipping in and saying, you know, it's the end of the day. And you know, maybe, just maybe I can catch a little snooze out here. So why don't you just get up for a moment? Thank you. So just start from the first slide. Yeah, so can we keep the lights on? I mean, I think it keeps everybody alert and on their edge. You know, it's an honor and a privilege to be here in this auditorium and to visit your institute. And the reason why I'm saying that is that not only have I been here before and addressed some of you, maybe they were your seniors, but the other aspect is that, you know, when you interact with youngsters, and allow me the privilege of calling you a youngster, it keeps us relevant. And you know, whilst I may have served 20 plus years in the industry, in different kind of roles and jobs, interacting with students who still have to kind of, apart from an internship or maybe some years of work experience, I don't think any one of you have had a steady, long stint at working outside. You provide us with a lot of fresh perspective. So I had a very interesting conversation with Sandeep and Gitika, is it? No, Gitanjali. Yeah, Gitanjali. I had a very interesting conversation with them, and I think Sandeep made a mistake of asking me, saying, so how is the economy, the market, the jobs? And I think he probably petered off, and after that I took over, and then later on I was wondering whether, hey, did it make any sense? And I'm scared to even ask him whether it made sense or not. I'm just hoping, and as Ajay rightly says, some of it somewhere will trickle down. It may not immediately make sense, which is all right. Some of it will make sense. Some of it will actually make sense when in May, or maybe the year after that, when you graduate and you get to the industry, some of what we're sharing with you right now, and some of you are taking notes, it'll start connecting up. Right now, it may appear like myriad pieces of jigsaw puzzle. So why we called here? We called here because we want some academic insights and practical applications to come together to make some sense for you. But heck, how will it make sense unless you're out there working and you have a real job and a real boss and you're in a real company, in a real environment, which you may have had an exposure to, but not in a very significant way. So when you get out there in May and start working, you're going to be in for a lot of surprises, you're going to be in for a lot of shocks, you're also going to be in for a lot of positive and negative experiences, which will all define you as you go ahead. So back to the point, you guys keep us relevant. And the questions that you ask us, not by rote, but when you even step into the industry and the questions that you will ask organizations or your immediate boss or people around you are going to be the questions that will define things to come. As you know, talking about the internet and talking about the kind of changes that we're all seized with, the rate of change is far higher than ever before. And I think that's a stated fact. I'm sure you all know it. It's no mystery. Everybody, I think, through the day would have reiterated challenges, today's environment. It's complex. It's increasingly complex. It's very ambiguous. We don't have the answers. So trying to just put it together in a small presentation so that it sort of is structured, makes a little sense for you. Tomorrow, we're all talking about tomorrow. What is it tomorrow? And it's very interesting. When I was preparing this presentation, I like to do my presentations myself, I did a little bit of research. And it's interesting because even 10 years ago, there were some things that we were saying which are equally true today, which is what does tomorrow hold? Future is unpredictable. There are a lot of things that are happening. What is going to make sense for you and what is not going to make sense for you? How many of you read the newspaper regularly? I see newspapers all over the institute. Come on, honest show of hands. I'm going to ask you questions on that. How many of you have read the CD today? Corporate Dossier, Economic Times? Come on, come on, come on, at least one hand, honest hand. All right, there's a hand. So, a hand is either this or this. If a hand is here, I call it half pregnant. But there's no such thing as half pregnancy. You're either pregnant or not pregnant. So come on, how many of you, none of you may have, or some of you have. So I would request you to do that as a piece of homework. I'm sure being in an institute, you're still used to homeworks. Pick up the CD edition of today, the Economic Times supplement, and read through an article which talks about the rate of change. And it's going to throw up, it's so scary because when I put my presentation and when I read the article, it was almost as though it was my thoughts being relayed through the article. It's on the 3rd page, it talks about how there is a new behavioral space that Apple has created. Intel and IBM and the Nokias of the world did not see it coming. BlackBerry senior managers did not even touch an iPhone for 2 years after it was launched. What does that tell you? So insidiously, Apple is creating a new behavioral space which the first-hand competition is not even going there and experiencing it. So what does that mean? That means death of a BlackBerry today. Because there's something happening behind your back and it's in direct competition to you, but you're not even stepping out there, taking that product and saying, what is it that my competitor is creating? And if you did not even explore that product, you did not even realize that it was actually bringing in a new behavioral shift. Today, I can't live without my iPhone, and I'm sure I can say that for a lot of you too. So here is the shift happening. The direct competition doesn't even view it as, hey, what are they going to come out with? And that's exactly, there is a tomorrow out there. There are going to be behavioral shifts that are going to come and overtake you. And before you can pause and see, it's in the face, right in front of you, for you as organization, you as individuals and leaders in the organization to deal with that change. And that is exactly what is happening. And suddenly we say, oh my God, look at this, so there's an app store and there's this and there's that. But what's happened? In 5 years, they have consolidated their position in a certain segment of market, and I'll allow them that. And it grows. What does Coca-Cola do in India? It's a client of mine. It captures the taste buds of a budding child. It captures the taste buds there so that in the war between Pepsi and Cola, I'm going to ensure that I stay ahead of the pack. Because why? If I as a child will have Coca-Cola and I say, Mom, I want a Coke and I don't want a Pepsi, then I'm going to actually work on the taste buds much ahead. So back to tomorrow, I'm going to throw certain words at you and I hope it makes sense. Innovation, transform. And the reason why I use this word transform is very deliberately. 99 out of my 100 clients over the last 5 years have made transformation their agenda. And I ask them these questions, I question them. I say, why transform? You've been doing something well, You can incrementally grow it. You can keep capturing new market. You can have new business strategy. You can have new marketing strategy. Why transform? But I think the aspirations, no, I don't think, I know, the aspiration of the organizations are so high. As Ajay rightly says, either you go out there in the global arena and kind of handle it, or you bring that to here. So there's no company that has not made an acquisition, no Indian firm that's not made an acquisition overseas. They're really rare. I mean, in a certain segment I'm talking about. So what happens is that you transform because you want to stay ahead of the pack. You don't talk transition, you don't talk incremental, you talk transform. And if that be the agenda of most organizations in here today, when you step in there, can you imagine the expectations they'll have of you? So fine, for a few years you'll fly below the radar. You're not going to be focused upon because there's enough management layer to take upon to, kind of handle that stress. But very soon you'll realize if you're in this transformation company, the company may be in a core sector. It may be in power, it may be in energy, it may be in infrastructure, it may be in an engineering consulting firm, it may be a leadership consulting firm. There's rarely that they don't have an agenda. Rarely, and it's mostly along the words of transform, which is big. So what does that mean? Are we inspired enough to handle that transformation? Am I inspired enough? Are you inspired? When you step into the workforce, would you be inspired to say, hey, what's going on here? Let me question traditional wisdom, and let me come and ask some difficult questions. And if I do, in the process, I will challenge status quo. They're themselves challenging the status quo, and so let's see what happens out there. And the question that I ask you is that, if that be the case, where does the individual fit into this? We are all mere mortals. We're all limited in more ways than one. We may have huge aspirations in our head, but we have limited time to sort of make that happen, And when we get into it, we get into a rut of a system, a process, a way to do things, and you lose our freshness over the years and be part of the system. But can you imagine when the system is undergoing a transformation, how does the individual fit into this? So what really characterizes, and I just want to spend 2 minutes on this slide. I hope you can see, you can read? No? Yeah? You know what I talked about, the new behavioral space on the CD, this thing, and you talk about discontinuity and inflection points. Organizations don't grow steadily, They'll go till here, then there's an inflection point, they'll probably go steep, then you need some impellers, then they go steeper, or very much so that, you're on a steady thing and you just have to kind of keep afloat. You need inflection points. The inflection points are the ones that is breakthrough thinking. Demolition of entries to enter anything, the barriers of entry as we call them, in anything, in a product launch, in your marketing strategy, it is minutes, not even minutes, it's seconds or nanoseconds before competition takes over or goes right ahead. So if you look at tomorrow and what characterizes it, it's a lot of complexity, it's a lot of ambiguity, it's a lot of I don't know what's going to happen. And in the middle of all that, strategy was supposed to be, I remember when I started working, was something that got defined pretty conclusively in the beginning. And sort of you made some changes around it and maybe some inflection points. Today, it has to align itself to the fluidity of the environment. So can you imagine how many times you need to sit down and be a think tank, brainstorm? And I do it in my small way with organizations when I talk leadership, but organizations do it on business. And when we talk, I intersect on the point where they talk business and then they say, how does our talent take this ahead? So they may do immense amount of work on the business strategy per se. We take it to a leadership strategy and say, all right, so this is all great stuff, but who's going to deliver on this? So that's the intersecting point. And imagine a strategy itself is fluid and it needs to change. Organizations also need to be flexible enough to focus and do enough change on a constant basis. And these are the things that are changing. If your strategy is going to be fluid, it's going to keep getting redefined, and you got to be flexible. And I'm saying in all of that, aspirations are huge. Companies don't talk X to 2X. Companies talk X to 3X to 5X. And this whole thing about India shining emerging market, your economic indicators are so strong, look at where India is going. There is a huge expectation that the world has of us. And who's us? It's organizations. It's the Indian organizations or the MNCs in India who are under tremendous pressure to deliver. But, again, it's the individual who needs to fit into this and make it happen. Are you taught all that? So, when you get into the industry, how do we become? We become Superman or Superwoman and try and kind of figure out how do we do it. These are not things that are taught. So can you imagine the change and the orientation that's going to happen in your mind when you step into the industry and say, hey, I'm not taught this, but I'm supposed to deal with this in some manner or form. And before you know, you're going to go ahead. So I know I'm going to quote your example, but she was sharing with me an internship that she did in a company where new thought, digital media, interactive media out there. Heck, India doesn't know digital media. People who created it and made a business around it don't know digital media enough. And it's keeping pace with the world, and you're a part of it, and it's expected of you to kind of be there with your thoughts to kind of fit into, am I right in assuming that? In a small team and give your ideas. You can't hide there. When it's a small company and a small setup, everybody matters. So, you're going to start learning very new things and start kind of going ahead with the pace in more ways than one. I don't know how much time I have, but I'm going to just spend time with this. So why transform is a question that I want to leave you with. Market, know and don't know. The firm as in the organization, know and don't know. What's in the known space? Do you all know Johari window? Yes. So it makes sense. Does it? I got scared with that, yes ma'am. So right, so the firm and the market, they collide on the no-no platform, and here you're commoditizing a thing. So what the market doesn't know, and actually you've discovered it, it's just a matter of time before they catch up, like I mentioned. And if you don't know, and the market's already discovered it, all you're doing is running up and catching up with it. But the opportunity lies in the fourth. The world does not know it, the market does not know it, and the firms do not know it. And that's where the opportunity lies. What to do? They'll catch up. Hurry, hurry, we got to catch up. This is the part that's still available. So if you were to look at it in terms of value, it's going to look like this. It's huge. Efficiency and efficacy. It's again back to your fluid strategy. How do you create? How do you know? You don't know, they don't know. It's called the EAD in Johari. I don't know what you call it here. But it's don't know. But it's going to start getting clearer as we approach it. It's like fog. It just lifts up and starts making sense. Creation of new vectors of value. And that's what the transformation journey is all about. Most organizations are talking about it. So we create something called an innovation factory. And I think, to my mind, and whatever I interact with my clients, some see it, some don't see it, but unless you're out there innovating, real time, not in a lab, out there in the grassroots, figuring it out and innovating, you will not know what you should be doing. And it's not linear innovation. It's multiplicity, complexity of innovation. It's picking up ideas from everywhere. Transforming the word growth from a noun to a word, so you're growing, you're just not, there's no growth, there's no has been. Making progress, growth happen as against participating. So organization is incumbent on organizations to make it happen rather than sort of stand on the sidelines and see it happen. So who are we going to be? The genius at play? And my entire thought process right now when I interact with you is to actually expand your mind. I don't have the answers. You'll have to go there and find them yourselves. So I don't want to spend too much of time on this. The presentation would be with you in case you want to go through it, the idea factory. So the keywords were inspire and transform. And transform is where we live. Insights, fresh knowledge, higher reality we serve. At an individual level, what does it mean to me? From transform to inspiration. Am I inspired enough as an individual? Am I inspired enough to go out there and make unorthodoxy happen? Is it a eureka moment? You all have ideas. How do you participate in it? And link to the higher purpose. And I see that consciousness is far higher in students of today. And as you know, you have fresh thinking. And if you say Diwali, don't burst crackers, you mobilize the students in schools, you actually see a result out there. As you see garbage and no plastic bags, you see students making the difference. So the consciousness, and organizations are rallying around to the consciousness, the real purpose, the higher purpose. Let's see it at an organizational level. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I feel I'm taking too much time. Some challenges, new worlds, verticals are fuzzy. Business as usual is happening, yes, but unknown space. What you're doing is mining for insights and mega trends. So the gap between what can be imagined and what can be accomplished has never been smaller. So that's the good news. So what you imagine and what you state and what you make happen is going to happen. So all I want to leave you with for this presentation, of course I'm here for the Q&A and the panel discussion, is that the only way you can remain relevant to the industry, wherever you go, whatever you decide to do, is by constantly endeavoring to unlearn, learn, and relearn. And I think that's what I want to leave you with. And thank you so much, and thank you for your time.